Good evening, everyone. This is Dr. Slay. I'm just checking to make sure that we're recording, and I do see the recording button going. And I am going to go ahead and start our live Zoom workshop for this evening. And let's see. Um, you should be seeing my screen that has the announcements right now. Let me go back to the home page and get started from there just to show you the announcements for this week. I want to thank those of you that that alerted me to the fact that I had not set the dates correctly for the See It in Action guided reading progression discussion. I did set it up for a few days later, simply to give you that freedom to be able to respond. That was my error, and I do apologize. You'll notice I also put the link for tonight's Zoom there and an additional reminder here. So you're going to find out just a second that the discussion for the See It in Action, which was supposed to be due on Tuesday, is now due on Friday, since not everybody comes on at the same time. So I'm going to go ahead and X out of those announcements here so that we can go ahead and get into the content for this week. And here we are in week 5. Time is flying by. So let me see if I can make this just a little bit bigger. First, I want to let you know that the syllabus has changed just a slight bit. Only the dates, nothing in the content has changed. But what I did was try to build in a little bit of more work time for you all to get some of the things that we need to do. This course is jam-packed. All of our reading courses have quite a lot of material. And we should be successful on our exams and in getting certified. So we try to make this as useful as and realistic to what you're going to be doing as teachers in the classroom. So that's the first announcement. Let me show you right here. If you go back to the syllabus, which is in the table of contents, you will see that I'm only looking at pages 21 and 22, the last 2 pages. And I have marked that basically here we are. This is a work week, and you're just going to be working on the guided reading and the Where I'm From blog post. Next week, we'll do a little bit more with guided reading, and we're going to start looking at some elements of lesson planning. So we don't need to worry about that. I just moved some dates down. That's all I did. Nothing for you to be too terribly worried about, because I link everything here in each of the modules. So what you will also see in my announcements is that I do ask for some feedback about how the course is going. So it's voluntary, but your feedback is appreciated. This is not the official course evaluation at the end of the semester, but I like to know how things are going so that we can get some positive results for you and positive results for me. So I want all my students to feel successful. And so I usually ask 2 or 3 times in the course for a mid-course survey. And it's really quite simple. It's just 3 quick questions that I ask. First of all, I teach several classes. These are all the courses that I'm teaching this semester. So you're going to pick the one that you're in. So it'll be a drop down. You're going to say reading 370. And then it's going to ask you to indicate what things do you think I should start doing that I'm not doing right now. What would help make your learning a better experience? What things should I stop doing that's not working for you? And what things do you think I should continue doing because it works well, etc. It's that simple. If you wouldn't mind filling that out, that would be greatly appreciated. I don't guarantee the results of the survey, but I will address the concerns, and I will bring that to everybody's attention if there are concerns up here. Otherwise, I'm going to assume that everything is great and hunky-dory. So here we go into the content. I'm not adding anything new. We're still in the guided reading, and we're just continuing what we were working on last week. Last week kind of got set up for the work that you're going to be doing this week. So we're going to continue with the guided reading presentations, and I have actually posted the assignment that you're going to be submitting, and I'm going to review that in just a second. And you're also going to continue working on your Where I'm From poem. which you wrote last week and should have posted to the discussion board. And hopefully by now you've already reached out to your small groups. Somebody just emailed me a short bit ago about asking about, well, how am I supposed to get in touch with my groups? What I'm the things that I mentioned in our discussion or the Zoom recordings from last week is to go to the communications tools. There's so many things in D2L, it's really easy to overlook these things. But if you go to communications, you will see that there's a drop down. And here you have, of course, the calendar, the class list, email, etc. So you can do it a couple of ways. You can go to email and you can start to type in someone's name. So let's see, I'm going to pick somebody. Well, I'm going to pick me and I'm going to start typing Slay and you'll see that it'll pop up. So you could also pick somebody. Let me go back a minute because I don't have people's names memorized. I'm going to go to the class list and that's another way to do this. And so let's say here's somebody online right now and I'm going to click on that person's name. That'll be perhaps easier. And then I'm going to say email. And then that person's name is going to show up here. Or it doesn't show up. You can either type in their name here. I may not be spelling it correctly, so I'm just going to not put anything up there, but that person's name is hidden here. They do try to keep you guys anonymous, but give you a way to communicate with each other. And then you can type your subject in here, and you type your message in here. And then, of course, you go into, it's underneath this little blue thing, but you would say send underneath here. So you also, let's see, I've never used the address book. Let's try that and see if there's something else that you could do. I'm going to go backwards. I'm going to cancel out of this. I'm just trying to show you. Let's see. So we could put, so let me see, Bermejo. So let me see how that would work if I were to try it differently. So if I go back to the email and I typed in see, and I start typing it correctly, the person's name and their email pops up here, and then you just send as you would do any other kind of an email. Now, the other thing that you can also do is that I did post last week some discussion groups. So you're going to see that I have groups here, and here's everybody's individual names. You may not be seeing. Let me try something really quick while we're talking online here. I'm going to go into the student view, and I'm going to try as best I can to try to get your view. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So if you're seeing something quite different than what I show you in these discussions, please do let me know so that I can work with you the best way I can. I'm also more than happy to meet with you to Zoom one-on-one or in a small group to keep this moving and make this an easier journey for you in case there's any confusion at all. So anyway, here's our communication tools again, the class list, the email, and groups. I just want to see what's going to pop up for you. There's the groups individually. Let's see, I'm going to click on view available groups. And my groups, well, see, I'm not a student, so it's not going to work there. Ah, look at that. If you just keep clicking, going down, 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 you're going to see the groups that are here. So you can see the early reader group, for example. Let's say that's your group. You click here and let's see, what could you do here? If you click here, I don't see any way to type to email anyone, but I do see that you could, it would show all of your discussions. So I'm trying to see if there's any way up here. Oh, look, Amy has already emailed or posted to the group. Hello, everyone. I'm looking forward to working together in this group. So she started something. So you can see the discussions that have been posted for that group. So let's see what else. That would be reply. I could click reply and I'm going to just say, hi, Amy. Thanks for starting your group's discussion. I hope they reply soon. And then it'll say post, and it'll show up as my name as having been the person that replied. let's get this toolbar out of the way. And let me see what happens if I refresh. So that's one way. Oh, you can see that right here, Amy responded and then I replied. So this is one way for you to see your own particular group. So you can go down to groups one more time, scroll down and you'll find your group. I made these groups closed so that your discussion is just for you and your group members. Okay. If you click here on the number, you'll see who the group number people are, but you also have that in the sign up sheet that I posted last week. What's one more way? Let's try one more thing. You can also go to activities and you can go to discussions. And you can scroll down and you can see the various discussions. And you can, if you're really not sure and you don't want to keep scrolling, you can do a search where I usually do an F and then I say guided reading, and all the things that are guided reading are going to start to pop up if I spell it correctly. Let's see. Guided, not ratting, but how about reading? Okay, and so you'll see that guided reading on this discussion board, all of them is mentioned 15 times. So you can just start to go through until you find the one you want. So here's the See It in Action discussion. You can see, you can scroll down more and you can see here's our different groups. And you can see I just posted to this early reader group. And so I'm going to click there again so you can see how it works. Hopefully it'll pop up in a minute. And again, it takes you back to that section. So there's hopefully several to again to discuss things with each other. I put it in D2L to make it accessible to everyone because it is the tool that we are using. And if you post things in there that you need my help with, I will try to monitor it. Or of course you can reach out to me through email. You even have my cell phone number. So there's lots of ways to get in touch with me to get help. And I'm online every other Wednesday. If you need something specific from me, you just have to reach out. Okay, so let's get back to the content for the course. Now we've talked about, let's go back to week 5. I'm going to move my toolbar one more time. You see, I don't have new content. I just have assignments and tasks. So I'm going to make this bigger. It makes it easier for me to read. So you see, I'm going to tell you right here that this week you're going to be revising your poems. You should be talking to your group members about your poems. It was posted on the discussion board. You can read each other's work. I want you to get together and talk to each other. I want you to read your poems to each other. I want you to share the different versions of what you have. I showed you several different versions of how the poem can go. Mine turned out very differently than the traditional one. So I encourage you to be creative. This is one way, of course, to build community and to build stronger writers because you are going through the writing process and giving each other feedback is part of that. Later in the course, we're going to go through a very formal feedback process, but right now I'm trying to keep it informal and stress-free for you all. So notice it says here small group work. So let's click here and see what pops up. And so you can see all of these various different people have already posted their poems. So you can find your group members and you can click on them and you can be able to read their poems and all the work that's been done. You can see somebody did that. So you can kind of get an idea of what's out there. So it's all about the sharing and the discussion with each other. So talk to each other and then do some revisions this week. I'm being very evasive in terms of I'm not giving you specifics. Absolutely do it this way for your poem because I've given you lots of examples. But this week, you're going to take all of that discussion that you posted about the final blog post, and you're going to pick your platform, however it is that you want to set up your blog, and you're going to actually post it. So let me give you an example of someone from another class several years ago that did this. This student typed that here's the name of the title of her particular blog post. This is just the post. This is not her whole blog. Um, and she has a title image, which is beautiful. She has her poem broken out several different ways. I do ask you to include as at least 3 images in your blog post. So you want to support it with other content as well, but things that represent what you have written in your post. And so you can, I'm just trying to share the format that you have. She used Blogger, and then I read them, and I do give you I respond to them. I want you to know that I have read it. But one of the other things that I want you to know is I'm going to make a blog roll, which is a list of all of our blogs so that you can share and read each other's stuff because you'll be posting throughout the course. This is just your very first post. And the title apparently of her blog is Reading 370 when she was in my course back in 2022. The post link is going to be the one that is the published post. That is super important. Sometimes people will post the editing post that they created, and that's not going to help anybody because we can't see the back door to your blog. You have to only post what's been published. That's going to be usually after it's in the rendition for um, the final page. You have to actually click something that says publish. So be careful with that. I'm going to click this. I want to see what happens. Oh, this is where you can post it to different venues. So, oh, see here, she's published it, and you could say get link, or you could go up here and you could copy that link. Excuse me, my dog is scratching. She always knows where I am, no matter where I go. Be right back. Okay, little girl, let's get you in. Come on. Come on, pretty girl. There you are. Okay, I'm back now. So that's the blog post. Let's go back to week 5. And here you are, you're working in your Where I'm From poem. Remember, if you forget anything about what's happening, you always go back up to the course home, and you can see that I have the assignments under assignment descriptions, and you can see the Where I'm From poem and everything that's there, and then the guided reading presentation. So you can see the details for the video explanation and the template and all the business that we've already posted so far in reference to this particular assignment. So I'm going to go back to where we were here. So you're posting, you're talking to your group this week, you're working through and creating any kind of revisions. So all of that what got started, it was due yesterday. So you're also, yesterday was due the discussion, the initial discussion for chapter 4. So now we're into Friday, and that's where you're going to post the final one. So let's see what happens if I click here. And you will see this is where the discussion is to actually post the final assignment. So after reading and responding to other people's blogs, I want you to revise yours. I want you to publish it. And this is going to be the first one. We've talked about it. It's a great way for you to use this for communicating with parents and samples for your class. I hope this is something you can use in your classroom. You've already explored different sources and you're going to revise, but here's where it says use at least 3 images that support your poem and that you can put in. These should be something that's really authentic to you. They should not be something that is somebody else's content or something that you don't have copyright rules for or eligibility to have. Make sure that you publish something that says published, as I mentioned before. Here's one thing I didn't mention before, if you chose to go the podcast route, that's very cool. But you are going to, which means you're going to actually recite it, which would be beautiful. We love to hear poetry. Poetry should be recited. But I'm going to ask you to post your actual poem and the images in this assignment so that we can actually see your writing as well. That goes along with the link. So then what you're going to do, so you're going to submit the assignment let's see, I'm trying to verify if this is an assignment. This is not a discussion. So you're going to put it in the assignment. And then you're going to answer these questions down here in the text box right here. So you might end up adding a file. You might just end up putting the link to your blog post. So if I were to do this one, we copied it, right? So I want to make sure I've got it correct. So I'm going to copy this again. And I'm going to go back here to that. Where did it go? I would say here is the link to my blog where I'm from, blog post, and I post it. And then I would start answering some of the questions. I want you to tell me about how your peer conferencing experience went. What went well? What would you like to have happened that didn't happen? How does this poem writing activity relate to building community, and how can you use it with young children? How are you going to modify this for your future, potentially future students? What do they need to know to be able to write this poem? That's an interesting thought. When you think about all the prompts, they may not understand everything that we asked you to do. So what are you going to do that's going to meet the needs, or how will you change it to meet the needs of a first grader, for example? And then what stories can you develop from the memories this poem might have triggered? So think about all of the writing potential. So here you answer the reflection questions. I want you to recognize that in my teaching, what's really, and then you would say, of course, submit. I'm not going to submit that because I'm not submitting my own assignment. One of the things that I want you to recognize is that reflection is a very big part of the work that we do together. So I take this part of it really seriously. I know you don't have a lot of answers for your future classroom yet because you're not there, but you can be thinking about it. You've observed, and I know you've observed a lot of classrooms, and you're shortly going to be going into internships. So you have some ideas of what's going to happen in some sort of an elementary school setting, which is what we're all getting certified for. So I'm going to cancel that because I am not submitting this in my situation. So Ellen, look, it pops up and it says, no, you didn't submit it, or yes, you did submit it, et cetera, et cetera. I think I need to, that was an old assignment that I had when I was teaching this before, so I need to delete that and make a note. Reflection, delete. I just asked you to, because I've done this in various different formats, and I consistently change to make it useful for the current class that I'm in teaching. Okay, so here you've got the where I'm from, and here's the see it in action guided reading progression, which is the one we talked about. There's just a little video in there that I want you to think about. And post to, notice there's no peer response for that. And then there is the writing workshop chapter 4 discussion. The peer response from what you posted on Tuesday is due. Okay, so this is the one that was extended. So there's 3 things that are due on Friday. I know that writing the blog is going to take a little bit of effort to get it publishable and get it the way you want it. So that's why I'm not trying to add a lot of work for this week. So then moving ahead, we're going to move into something that's due next week. And that's going to be a small discussion called guided versus explicit reading instruction. I'm going to click there because I want you to see. Let's see if I can find it. I'm in the student view, and I'm trying to see what happens when you don't see the prompt from this side. So it's really hard for you to know what it's asking for. I'm going to have to go back and try it from this side, and let's see what happens. Oh, okay. I see. I need some feedback from you all. Do you see exactly the way that I'm showing you? Because I moved the assignment into next week's work simply because it's not due this week, and I didn't want to make this more challenging for everybody. So I just like you to, some of you want to be able to work ahead and it's open. I'm going to go back and have to get out of student view, but I want to show you one more thing, and that's what our guided reading presentation is all about. So I can go ahead and close out of this, and I'm going to close out of this one, and the brainstorming, and the groups, and the blog post. But I do want to talk a little bit more about what your guided reading presentations are going to look like. So let me show you this thing that I put together for you all. Oh, go back. It's going to, here we go. Your guided reading presentations. Your presentation is going to be approximately 10 minutes long. It can be as long as 15, but no shorter than 5. Okay. So it's an audiovisual presentation. That means you're going to have to probably get onto Zoom or some other presentation tool and deliver your presentation so we can hear your voice. Zoom's the easiest way in my mind. I've tried different things and I always come back to Zoom. So I want you to present what you've learned from the assigned Richardson chapter, the one that you signed up for. And you're going to have the profile of a learner. You're going to have a slide for the assess, the decide, and the guide, and examples of assessments, and the strategies that you're going to demonstrate. One thing that she brings up in her chapter. So you're telling us all about the chapter and what's involved so that others, because all of us are not reading the book. Although I do have throughout the syllabus the chapters posted to space it out. I encourage you to read those chapters, but I'm not testing you specifically. We're sharing the knowledge this way to make your lives a little bit easier. And then you're going to have a slide on closing thoughts, which are going to be, maybe you're going to include throughout all of it memorable quotes, insights, connections, your aha moments, things in your closing thoughts that you think might be challenging, that you would have to plan for, etc. Be sure to add images, samples, and videos and things to enhance your presentation. So you can see, for example, that mine is clean. It's easy to see. The print stands out. It's bulleted, so it's not a lot of print. I do not like a lot of print. I don't like massive paragraphs. If it's a quotation mark, a quotation from the text, I usually put it in italics, and we use quotation marks. I will also probably put the page number of where it came from. And then I have a nice clean picture that supports the work that I have, that I'm using or trying to talk about. So you're going to present it through Zoom or another presentation tool, and your whole group needs to be present. So all 4, there's only one group that has 5 people in it, will need to be present to do this recording. And then you're going to post it to the D2L discussions in this case for others to view and respond to. So here's a layout of the slides. Your first one, of course, you're going to have a title slide. I didn't put that in there. It's in my presentation. But for example, it would be the profile of a pre-A learner or the transitional learner, whatever it is, but you're going to do bullet points. She describes, this is what these learners are all about. And you can synthesize, you don't have to copy everything she has, but together decide how you would want to write that down. You can share and a Google Slides presentation, and you can all add to it, maybe take responsibility for different slides. And then what I've done with other colleagues is then maybe one of you will clean it up and make it all look uniform, so it sounds like it's one uniform voice. You're going to have another one on the skills learned during the lessons that are appropriate for your particular group that you're writing about. So in this case, for pre-A lessons, or maybe for the transitional or the early reader lessons. Talk about what you do in the assess process. Talk about what you do in the decide process. Talk about what you do in the guide process. Talk about what you do for a very specific activity. What would you do? I want you to actually maybe even act it out. Show us some images, give us some tools, show us what you would use to do a particular activity that is focused on this group of learners that you're writing about. How do you monitor them? How do you check for understanding? And then, of course, any closing thoughts, your questions, your ahas, your realizations, final closing thoughts that you want to leave us with. So it's not a huge presentation. but it'll take a little bit of effort and a little bit of coordination to get that straight. So that is pretty much everything that I have for you. Let me get out of the student view to make sure that I haven't made anything challenging that is unrealistic or difficult for you to manage. Let me go back into content. And again, please let me know if something is not right or doesn't, I can't tell what you see. As you can see, that was a very limited view. So here we have, when you go to assignments, I did not put these other, I should probably put them in, but they are already in week 6 as I haven't finished cleaning week 6 up. But here is the discussion for the explicit reading. You're going to see one of the things that I did put here is I do need to move this up to week 5 because I want you to pay attention as soon as you can. Here's the password. You're going to click on this discussion and you're going to say submits. I'm trying to stagger your deadline so that not everything is due at the same time, but I want you to, this is going to help you with your presentations. All of these are pre-A videos. So pre-A videos, you guys, you have it easy, but all of these are things that relate to, well, I'm sorry, all of these are pre-A videos, but these are things that relate to the other groups that are in the book. So pick something that works for you, for your group to discuss. Look down here. There's all kinds of downloads that you can use. You can add those to the slideshow. Use the material. This is not meant to be anything hard. It's just something that should be accessible and easy for you to find. But you find, here's the resources, and here's even a professional study guide if you want to find it. But the resources are there, so please use them. And use the videos to give yourselves more insight about how these things work. But for that discussion, I'm asking you to go, I think, to this second one, and then I ask some very specific questions, like I'm asking you, what do you notice? I want you to really think about the difference between guided versus explicit reading instruction. What does that mean? I'm not going to give you the answer now. I want you to grapple with that. We'll talk about it later, and I will try to put a global response in your discussions if the discussion isn't answering the question quite right. And let's see, some of these are not quite right for week 6, but I'll move that one back up to week 5. And let's see, what else did I have listed under week 5? And then there was, sorry, I need to go up here. So up here, then I had looking ahead, the guided, that's the discussion I showed you through. And then of course you've got the initial discussion post for your guided reading presentation. So it's actually due on the 1st. So you're going to post it to the discussion board. You will see I showed you how to get to your discussions, but you can find it and you can you're going to post to your level. Now everybody can see everything on this one, but I just created a shell for you to be able to post your presentation. But then by the following Friday, this is due on a Tuesday, next Tuesday. So the following Friday, I expect that everybody will have gone in and looked at all of the presentations. So that means you look at 4 different presentations. Maybe you do 1 a day, 2 a day. So if they're 15 minutes each, that's about an hour's worth. You already know your own, so you don't have to post anything. But you don't have to respond to yourselves, is what I'm saying. You're posting to other people. And I give you some thoughts. I want you to go ahead and what we call, I used to do this, my principal taught us to do this when we were looking at each other's work. We do something called plus deltas. A plus is something that's positive. What's a good thing that came out of this particular work? What did they do well? Something you take away that you think is really positive. And what's a delta? A delta is something that you would change. Now, it can be about the presentation, it can be about the content, or it can be something maybe you disagree with. And so plus delta is a format to help you think through and give some concrete thoughts to your group. And then something that you learned, something for you that you learned, share with that you learned something. And then maybe something that you wondered about. based on what you gleaned from their presentation. So that's it. That is our work for this week. I will move these two things into week 5 so that you have access to them in case you want to get started earlier and getting those things posted. I wish you a great rest of the week. Please reach out to me and let me know how I can make your learning journey more pleasant and useful to you. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.